This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Hello, Gary.
Hi, Marie.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, 2023.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. So last year, we had you here twice.
You did. You did. It feels like ages ago.
It's more or less a year ago, right?
Yes, yeah.
And a lot has happened.
It has.
We closed 2022, we moved into 2023. And I remember, obviously I will pick your brain for what's ahead of us now or ahead of you for this year. But I remember last year you were saying, one of the things that you had in plan was to personalize the people experience at Spotify. How did that come along?
Yeah, going there. So it's kind of taken up the last year of my work life. So I'll try and unpack this. This one's not a straightforward answer. So I think when you're talking about kind of EX, there's lots of definitions around that. EX, employee experience, sorry. And we'll kind of come and look at it. So for me, I often describe it as kind of the cement between the bricks. And if the bricks are kind of policies or features or things you have with employees to interact with, the experience is what holds it all together.
Right.
And how strong that cement is how strong the overall structure and experience is. And I think if you look into this kind of crystal ball into 2023, everyone's talking about employee experience and people analytics. And people analytics can have more of a role in personalization, etc. And I don't mean this to be like critical of it, and because I've said that, it means I am being critical. But it's almost, it feels a bit lazy to me, in the sense of like people analytics having an impact on employee experience is pretty obvious. It should do. But actually, how do you do it? It's actually the tricky piece.
Right.
So if you take, and I'm oversimplifying the example of it, but if you took something like onboarding as a piece, and if you said to your people analytics team, we have an onboarding survey, let's do an analysis of that and come back with some recommendations. And you could do that, and that input could go into decision around personalization. But I just think you're scratching at the surface with that. And it's got its role, but there's more that can be done. There's lots of employee experience platforms out there now. There's been a kind of big wave of investment into this year. So taking those bits away from me, what it kind of comes down to is, generally speaking, when employees have touch points, they're looking to go somewhere, to know something, or to do something.
Right.
So how could you build a platform that does that, but is personalized in a really individual way? So to unpack it a bit more, if we both took our phones out now, and you opened your Spotify, so we'll stay on brand, and I open my Spotify, your home screen is going to look very different to mine, unless we have very overlapping taste in music.
Right.
But the point of that is it's personalized to you, so you get an optimized experience. It feels relevant to you, and you can find what you need to quickly. If you take employee experience, generally speaking, as platforms otherwise, they're pretty generic. They're frameworks. We all go into the same touch point. We all navigate it in the same way, and some people navigate that better than others. But what if that wasn't how it was? It was more akin to a personalized experience. So you could log into something and yours was yours and mine was mine. And businesses are nuanced, and Spotify is no different. So someone onboarding in HR, that's a very different experience from someone onboarding on one of our R&D teams. And the experience should be reflective of that. So if you hold all that to be true, you've then got to say, well, how do you do that?
Right.
And that's where I think people analytics comes. So what we've been working out in the last year is this new personalization engine. So a kind of live in the moment personalization of an employee's experience. So not a outward recommendation of this is how you should personalize it, but actually when you're in using something live and active, we're personalizing as you're using it.
Wow.
So that's what we've been working on.
It's a wow.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Wow. Okay. So, so you're working on it.
It's almost finished.
It's almost finished.
Almost finished.
So
yeah.
there is a launch coming up.
There will be, yeah. So we're planning on, we'll be going live internally in some of the markets towards the end of Q1, and then we'll be able to share much more details around how that looks and actually what it looks. But we spoke before, but I'm really big on kind of practical application of things and how do we push what the function's trying to do, what can a people analytics team be. So this is a sort of new domain, that, kind of a bit like the biased parent, but I don't think this exists anywhere else. I certainly haven't seen anything like it. I'm super pumped for it. I'm looking forward to it this year.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Gary, every single time you join, I'm like, okay, when can we see this?
Yeah.
Last time it was disco.
Last time it was disco, yeah.
Right? Last time it was disco, now it's something else. So this is again a teaser for a follow-up,
It is,
maybe
it
later
is.
this year to
It
see
is.
what that actually is,
How it works.
how was it perceived, how it works, and what are the learnings. Okay, looking forward. That's a cliffhanger.
That's a cliffhanger.
Always with you cliffhangers. Okay.
So you invite me back.
Yes, that's how I invite you back. But it's so interesting. And I think clearly you're working so diligently and strategically with your team to solve things that, it's top of mind for every company out there, right? So that's why it's so interesting. Now, as we said, last year, okay, looking forward, right? Good luck with that launch.
Thank you.
Last year it was disco.
Yes.
So for the viewers who didn't see those 2 episodes last year, we would recommend watch those.
Exactly. Shame on you.
But a recap, disco. What is that? And how has it progressed?
So Disco's our in-house people analytics
Right.
reporting platform.
Yeah.
So that's where all of our reporting, all of our analysis goes. Front end app everyone can use, back end the team use for all the analysis.
Right.
So we launched it, it feels ages ago, end of 2020. So we've had it for a couple of years now. So it's largely gone to plan really.
Right.
Which is a really boring answer, I think. People usually like when it doesn't go to plan, but no, it's gone to plan. I think last year was the analogy I've kind of got for this is a bit like when you move into a new house and you love your new house and it's great and you're excited to be in it, and then you spend a little bit of time living in it. And then you decide, okay, we might redecorate that room and we might tweak this and do that. It's kind of where we are with Disco right now. So team did a tremendous job last year. So I think I described the first time we spoke, Disco was kind of base camp and we're going to evolve from there. It wasn't the end point, it was the kind of start.
Right.
I think I get this number right. I think we've made over 480 different changes in Disco last year.
Wow.
New features, new songs, new playlists.
Right.
New tweaks. So this year is kind of going to be 2.0 is going to be coming this year. So taking a lot of learnings, interactions with the different teams. We've got a lot more data in Disco now.
Right.
So how to evolve that sort of experience. So gone really well. I think the biggest thing, and it always was kind of the boring thing, but it was the capability it built for the team in the back end.
Exactly.
So the type of analysis they do, some of the other things I'm sure we'll talk about, products and other things we've been able to develop has been because of that capability. So yeah, big success, gone really well, but more to do.
More to do. And clearly you learn as you go, and the data obviously helps you there, clearly. On brand.
Yes.
On brand.
On brand.
On brand. Okay, so I know you also done some profound work together with the Greenhouse team, the learning and development team. Anything that you can share with us there?
So I think our biggest one with the blog on Scout. That was probably our biggest launch.
Scout.
Scout, yeah.
So
I will
what
describe
is
what Scout is. Yeah, so I think we started off, it was towards the start of last year. So I've always been kind of fascinated with that problem that I think most HR teams have when it comes to talent. How do you spot it? How do you develop it? Succession plans. It's kind of that problem that no one really solves for.
Right.
And I think we had what we had at Spotify with the opportunity to do something differently. So that's where the sort of collaboration with Greenhouse, so Michaela and Johanna and co, was how could we come at talent at Spotify, so identifying and developing it slightly differently. So we don't have the kind of traditional performance management grades.
Exactly.
It's not a kind of cultural thing that we have. And I'm not an advocate for it anyway. I think some people think it solves for it. I'm not overly sure it does. But how could we take all the data and information that we had in Disco, put that into a product and platform that allows us to then find talent? So what Scout does is we look for what's called events in the data. So there's so the really simple one would be a promotion. So if you're promoted, that's generally someone who's performing well in their role. Simple example. There's lots of other types of events which are far more nuanced and smaller and subtle that are still indicative of someone performing well. So what Scout does is kind of always on, and it is constantly scouting Spotify across all the levels. So generally in organizations, you know your top 5-10% pretty well. But below that in the organisation, that can become more difficult. And certainly when you get to a bigger size, it's just not possible to kind of know. So Scout does that automatically. But then what it does, it then needs a human being, an HRBP, a business leader, to kind of confirm that finding. So we're not making automated decisions on people. It's just a different way to scout the organisation and surface talent, so that we can tag it, develop it, earmark it for roles, succession plans, etc. And that's what Scout does.
Beautiful. And that has been launched.
That has been launched, yeah,
Right.
that has been launched. So I think we're early stages for that. So this will be the kind of first year that we start to use it. But like I say, a lot of collaboration with the talent team to kind of get that where it's got to now. So that's going to be an exciting one for us as we develop out this year.
Yeah, for sure. Wonderful. Looking forward to hearing how that progresses as well in that follow-up session
Follow up
later this year.
Yeah.
And then, and what about the talent acquisition team?
Yeah, they had a quiet year last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us.
Not very much. I think talent qualifies a bit manic last year in terms of its Herculean effort to get kind of 4,000 people in. So it was actually Christmas 2021. We started looking at our kind of talent and TA offering, and I'm always usually fairly honest with what we got, and the honest answer where we were, it wasn't good enough. It just certainly with what we had coming up. So we actually went back and did a total rebuild. We literally tore it all back down and built it back up. So team did a really tremendous job of it. The TA systems, the data is hugely complex, hugely complex. I don't think people realise how complex that is because it's so process driven. There's so many steps.
Right.
Understand that data set is a real big effort. So built out a complete new offering. Again, probably building out Basecamp. I use that phrase quite a lot, but it's been a lot of work, but that's kind of where we've got to. And this year's a big kick on. We're not going to be quite as bonkers this year in terms of headcount increases, so we get a bit more time to focus on it. So we're going to kind of split it into two. So one is kind of a bit more TA operational, so supporting the TA team with what they do and how they go out with the business a bit more than we have. The other one we want to do is something a bit more manager focusing, or sort of hiring manager. So just how can we give them a bit more information? So things from sort of interviews, where things are up to. We've also got some hiring managers who consistently recruit high volumes. How can we kind of help support them? So TA is giving another focus for us this year. So Basecamp was built last year. Climb the mountain this year.
Perfect, lovely. Looking forward to that as well. And now lastly, we spoke to Arvid earlier, and he was sharing, when he was looking into the crystal ball of last year, he was saying, he was looking forward to working more tightly with your team, and you're reporting into your team is under the remit of Total Rewards and Arvid. And he was talking about, you got married last year, then you got into a honeymoon and so forth, right?
This is what I have to work with. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about that honeymooning and how that marriage is progressing with the Total Rewards.
No, it's been good. I think it's the one we probably picked up in earnest kind of Q4 last year.
Yeah.
And I think there's one of the interesting things with comp is it's probably the only other area in HR which is heavy data users and number crunching and otherwise. But where it's different and what people don't often realise is there's so much process around comp. So for us coming in it as a kind of outsider, inverted commas, is for us to have impact and deliver on what I want us to be able to deliver and kind of support that as a team. You have to spend your time kind of earning your stripes, understanding it, seeing how they have to interact with the business, what they're doing, etc. So that's what we spent sort of Q4. So we've probably got a bit more processy focused to really get an understanding and take that knowledge of things which is coming up. So it's kind of a comp review cycle at the moment, which I think a lot of organisations are. So I think as we get out of Q1, we have a lot of learnings from that. And I think so we've done the first bit of work, which is kind of a lot of scaling and optimising what they do, which has been quite manual previously. As we get into this year, is how can we kind of explode out with this sort of options? So some of the examples we've got in reporting, so if you take things like gender pay gap, equitable pay, etc., they're generally pretty cyclical, i.e., we do a few times a year, but they're one-off activities, close the book and then go. So we're working on this idea of kind of always on. So you can go in and look at gender pay or equitable pay at any stage day, night, whenever you like, and have
Right.
it kind of live. So some of those ideas, but I think it's just going to be one of the ones we're a bit patient with it. So I've been saying we've got to buy a house now and move in and get settled, and I think so that's kind of where we are. So lots of enthusiasm, lots of really good ideas, which is great. But like I say, it's a complex area,
Yeah.
which it doesn't necessarily feel from the outside, but once you kind of get in, you sort of
Right.
realise how much there's to be done.
Right. Exactly. So the family is growing. The kids
Obviously
are
growing.
more
Yeah.
kids, more kids.
I'm going to have to
right?
remember this analogy for next time. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much. It's so inspiring to speak to you every single time, Gary, because obviously you're doing so much work and progressing. So I'm looking forward to that follow-up
Pleasure.
conversation
Likewise.
later this year. Now, you know how we end.
I do. It's
the
the hardest bit.
It's the hardest
It's
bit.
also
I know.
absolutely freezing up here.
I know, and it's cold. I'm looking at your hair and thinking, oh my God, it's fantastic.
It's the only bit of it that's not moving. Legs are going, it's freezing.
Thank you so much for the light, the
Yeah.
talk, and let's try to end this now.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
So
okay.
stay safe, stay strong, stay active. I got it.
Excellent.
Ida medalja.
Ida medalja.
Ida medalja.
Fantastic, Gary.
I know you've always done this at the rooftop, but did you guys never think to do this indoors?
No.
No, it's always been a thing.
I tried.
Oh, it's not too bad today.
But good, you have gloves.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
As long as my hands are warm, I'm generally all right.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Worst case, we'll just start.
exactly. Arvid didn't actually. So
Guys from the north,
God.
different breed.
Yeah. Towards the. towards the. Yeah.
Don't breathe, just stand there. I'm trying not to breathe, keep the warmth in.
You said something. You let me.
Shit.
No, but you
I
said.
was lying. It
So
was a lie.
You said when we speak, just a very open chest, and you know.
And
looking
like
at
we
one
like each
another.
other.
There's so much direction now. We're lost.
Yeah. Open chest and pretend you like each other.
Let's do this. Good. You have water. I have coffee.
Should have got a cup of tea, really. Yeah. I take for mine, it's freezing.
It's cold.
I think it's my legs, these thermals on.
I said
Top
that.
half was fine, I was like this. I'm bringing a jacket like this next time.
Yeah.
I was sort of fine halfway through and I felt my right leg start going.
Yeah. And the feet, right?
Yes, yeah, feet are absolutely
and the
freezing.
feet. Okay. Fy fan vad kallt. Helvete.
It is.